R. Kelly's audition for American Got Talent had 84 million views. Cameras didn't capture the darker side. There was a total blackout during her quarterfinal performance. Personnel murmured to her about peculiar mishaps and machinery breakdowns. Not everyone was willing to go into the rooms where she practiced. The death of the last individual to address her by her given name in 2023 further rocked her fragile environment. After suffering a nervous breakdown, she disappeared from the spotlight. The surprising news was unveiled on her 2024 Harriet comeback to the reality of what her celebrity had truly cost her. Born Mary Antoinette Riana Graani in Jakarta, Indonesia on July 13, 1992. The world knows her as the divine Riana. Her life was anything but average the moment she opened her eyes. A Christian man, her father not just any magician, Yunato. Mental deception was his forte. Applause wasn't his magic. What mattered most was making them feel uneasy and make them doubt reality. As a child, Riana witnessed him transform ordinary spaces into places where darkness appeared to breathe and stillness weighed heavily. Her world was constantly a kaleidoscope of illusion and reality. Mysticism and ghost stories run deep in Jakarta, adding fuel to the fire of this otherworldly realm. When she made her broadcast debut, she had already evolved into an animated spectral tale. She had a disturbing aesthetic that drew on psychological illusion, her father's sinister work, and Indonesian mythology, and scary 2019 horror film titled The Sacred Riana Beginning created a childhood that rivaled Rihanna's real one in terms of creepiness. In that tale, the little town's funeral home was run by her family. Her dad was a coffin builder. Her mother made burial preparations. Little Riana was encircled by death on a daily basis. It didn't faze her though, as if she had a deeper understanding of the deceased than the living. The film depicted her seeking solace in their company. Tragically, that changed. They took refuge in Jakarta. The upheaval of leaving her home and family behind further deepened the shadows in her life. The serene atmosphere of the funeral home, there was an enduring sadness within her. It shone through in her slow, ritualistic gestures and unwavering gaze as she performed. She transformed her fears into works of art. Riana was the kind of kid who avoided parties and idle chatter. People found her eerie observational skills unsettling. She would observe from vantage points, contemplating concerning matters of life and death. Her inquiries rendered grown-ups mute. Ghost stories brought her solace. She was captivated by cemeteries and deserted structures. She went straight for them, even though the other youngsters were ducking and dodging. Early on, her relatives saw it. This was more than a fad. This was her true nature. Riana drew influence from horror when she was crafting her stage persona. Her appearance, the long hair pulled back from her face, the white outfit, and the silent menacer, all influenced by Sudako, the ghost from the Japanese film Ringu. However, Riana had an innovative touch. She combined this terrifying element with the enchantment of Chris Angel, Darren Brown, and David Copperfield. Although they wowed with terrified, she sent everyone into a state of awe. Her actions were deliberate. Hours of practice were devoted to honing her skills. She resembled a broken doll due to her abrupt head jerk, slow blink, puppet-like hands, and bent-leg posture. It was all prearranged. She spent hours completely immersed in her role, never stepping away from the stage and maintaining the illusion. The whole time, the boundary between the physical Riana and the spectral Riana started to dissolve. Her doll, became her best friend. The doll, who wore Riana's clothes and had a lifelike expression, wasn't merely a prop, a fragment of her essence. The meaning of Riana's statement, "Re protects me," was debatable at the time. The doll, according to others, stood for her forgotten youth. On one occasion, she would not perform until she had the doll returned to her, regardless of the cost of it, if it meant sending someone across Jakarta at midnight. In a horrific world she had created, the doll served as her anchor. Her voice, too, was designed to spook a low, quivering murmur that neither entirely both immature and mature. She spent months perfecting her technique. On stage, her every syllable mattered. Just hearing it sent shivers down people's spines. What really got under my skin, though, was her account of how she erased her previous self. She deleted all of her social media accounts. Nothing was left of Marie Antoinette Riana Graani. Not a single photo, not a single post. The friends were taken aback. It was essential, though, to Riana. There could be no fictional Riana. She had to be authentic. Her true identity remained a mystery for a long time. Body or spirit? A mythology was born from her erasure. Although it took a piece of her, it ultimately made her unique. Something remarkable occurred on Indonesian television on November 17, 2013. Little Marie Antoinette, Riana Groni, placed foot on the next mentalist. A magic competition. Riana, the sacred one, would soon be known to the public. She appeared to have escaped from a nightmare, what with her long, unruly hair covering her face, one crooked leg, and a doll called Riani that she carried around at all times. Viewers in the millions observed in disbelief as she gave a performance, maintaining an eerie expression and seemed frozen in time. She surprised everyone by going above and beyond their expectations. Her final standing was second place. Given their relative inexperience and unconventional approach, it was remarkable. People were talking about her weird, silent performance. Was she only a magician, or did she possess some otherworldly quality? A tidal wave of interest in Riana was generated by the show's conclusion. Over 70 million people have seen her videos online. Things were not simple for her behind the scenes though. Numerous individuals in the entertainment industry shied away from her after her initial public appearance. Her act was deemed too terrifying for families by the producers. She was flat out ignored by several TV networks. They were concerned that religious organizations and parents would lodge complaints. 5 big shows have cut ties with her or requested that she alter her performance style. She was to be less scary, they thought. Their request was that she speak up. Plus, they informed her to neutralize the harshness of her makeup. Trapped was Riana. She appeared to be in danger of having her career cut short before it had begun. But she persisted. Instead of quitting, their continued rejection only served to strengthen her resolve. Gradually, she eventually succeeded beyond the initial skepticism of those who preceded her. The thing that made Riana's life the hardest was also her greatest strength. The woman would never ever deviate from her role. Nowhere near the stage, in interviews, or even in the dressing room. Riana, the Holy One, was her constant persona. Even when the cameras weren't rolling, she remained silent. Nobody could get her to look them in the eye. Her peculiar jerking remained unabated. As a result, she was difficult to collaborate with. She refused to answer any of the director's questions, so they had to jot down notes. Directly, the interviewers eventually gave up on her, since she would either remain mute or answer with just one word. As if Marie had vanished, her entire team attested that she constantly transformed into the divine Riana. After hiding her identity on social media and in public, she, every day, striving to maintain an air of intrigue. Life for Riana was anything but glamorous between 2013 and 2016. As her fame grew, she continued to face financial difficulties. Little parties or local performances would often see her performing for pennies on the dollar. Her appearance was expensive to maintain. Her props, cosmetics, and outfits required continual attention. There were moments when she had to decide whether to fund her act or pay for necessities. When she was unemployed, her family pitched in. Months passed though, when she made nearly not a bit. She refused to alter her performance for the sake of financial gain in Indonesia's magic scene. In the end, she thought it would be worth it to be authentic. Her existence became more isolated with the passing of time. Where Marie ends and Riana, the holy asterisk, withered away. Attendance at family gatherings ceased. Except during her shows, she was extremely silent. Everyone, even her closest friends, thought she had vanished. According to them, it was as if one was attempting to communicate with an absent entity. Everything that Riana possessed was devoted to her character. Everyone was taken aback by the 2017 Asia's Got Talent audition of the sacred Riana. After airing in late 2017, word quickly spread. She gave the impression of a shy, nervous girl. With her face was mostly obscured by her hair. Her grip on a haunting doll only served to heighten the terror. There was total quiet before the performance began. Her every step was deliberate. Both the judges and the spectators were captivated. Strange illusions were performed by her. To start with, there was a card trick that appeared to float autonomously. Last but not least was the terrifying section. Angan couldn't place her in the photo. Even though she was standing next to Judge Angan, fear gripped Angan's face. She retreated in terror. More than 70 million individuals viewed the audition on YouTube and Facebook in a few weeks. This Got Talent audition surpassed all others in terms of viewership. People who watched the show thought it was the most terrifying deed ever. Movie clips showing Angun's genuine terror went viral. Every person Rihanna's ethereal, terrifying sound captivated listeners all around the globe. She was not considered the frontrunner leading up to the December 14, 2017 Grand Finals. The Filipino dancing crew DMX Convalinos was widely expected to emerge victorious. Their enthusiasm and skill had won over the judges and spectators. The judges, including Jay Park and David Foster, appeared to be rooting for the Filipino team to come out on top. But then the unexpected occurred. Holy Riana came out on top. The people's votes were the key. The grand reward was hers to keep, $10,000. She won a big international talent event, making history as the first horror act to do so. Her passionate following had united in her defense. The finals featured 3 Filipino artists. The Philippines appeared to be cruising to a victory, but that all changed when Rihanna won. Assumptions about what a talent show winner may be, something new and risky, had been selected by the audience. Even stranger was what transpired behind the scenes. It was clear that Rihanna's performances scared the judges. Most impacted was Angun. She was the one Rihanna kept picking out as her target. Her pranks and eerie seances seemed too real. Real terror gripped Angun at times. She retreated from the stage or bolted from it. She went on to say that the show gave her nightmares. It was a running joke on the team that Angun required a nap after every one of Rihanna's performances. It was terrifying enough without Rihanna ever letting her character slip. Her unsettling silence persisted even when the cameras were off. There was a sense of for a considerable period following the conclusion of the performances. Rihanna had successfully induced an unforgettable form of terror. The entire globe took note immediately. The news of her victory spread rapidly in the hours following her victory. She suddenly had millions of fans on social media. She was a hot commodity for performances in the US, Europe, and Asia. Her arrival was much anticipated by the event planners. Acting roles in films and TV shows, as well as invitations to major events, began rolling in for her. Her manager claimed that no matter where she traveled, she never broke character. She didn't want to let down the viewers who were hoping for the eerie girl they saw on TV. She kept performing non-stop for months due to the overwhelming demand. She ventured to uncharted territories. Everyone was moved by her blend of enchantment and terror. In terms of terrifying historic moments, occurred during Sacred Rihanna's 13th season audition on America's Got Talent. The internet viewing audience of more than 84 million people attests to its intensity. With her haunting expression, Sacred Rihanna made her way onto the platform. She quivered, remained motionless, and held on her eerie plaything. She made her way to the judges' table, and the room seemed to weigh her down. Everyone was watching. Melb, a newspaper article about a fatal fire, was the first item that Rihanna displayed. After that, she had Melb choose a killer from a collection of victim images. Melb indicated one, and Rihanna snapped a Polaroid of herself. Melby stood motionless as the image was being processed. Standing behind her in the photo was Bob, the alleged killer. He seemed to be observing her from a parallel universe. The crowd let out a gasp. Mel B let out a startled yell. The picture became viral on the internet. Speculations about a camera trick or something sinister sparked heated debates. With Rihanna's expressionless face and Mel B's obvious terror, this performance was prime-time television, has never shown anything quite like that. The response from Simon Cowell only served to heighten its memorability. While Rihanna was performing, Simon, who normally displays no signs of fear, slammed his red bell. He didn't despise it though. Panic was written all over his face. The conduct continued to escalate. Anxieties, stillness, and the Polaroid, all were taken aback by Simon's sudden buzzer sound. "Why did you do that?" Mel B yelled angrily. Peers were taken aback. The other also shook the judges. It's unusual for a judge to buzz in fear rather than boredom. Viewers were analyzing Simon's facial expressions and body language to see whether he genuinely believed in the paranormal after the video went viral. Her already spooky legend was further cemented by this. On August 21, 2018, during her quarterfinal performance, things took a bizarre turn. Void dolls and spectral doubles were employed by Rihanna during this occasion. In the middle of it all was Mel B. As the performance progressed, the TV screen went blank in the midst of a yell-out. The bewildered onlookers at home only looked at their screens. Next, the ads aired. Riana had disappeared by the time the concert resumed. Remarks from the judges were strange and nebulous. Nobody expounded about the blackout. The internet went boom. Do you think it was a technical issue, restricting speech, or something much more sinister? The reality was revealed a few days later. Producers orchestrated the blackout in order to generate buzz and boost the performance, makes the terror feel worse. The result was satisfactory. This one event sparked more discussion than any other throughout the season. Viewers couldn't help but question if certain parts were faked and others were genuine. Sacred Riana's appearance behind the scenes prompted even greater discomfort. Some of the crew workers refused to work with her during rehearsals because they thought she was too scary. At all occasions, she maintained her character. Silent she remained. Even when the cameras weren't rolling, her unsettling, jittery behavior persisted. When she was around, rumors circulated of unexplained chills and malfunctions. Beams of light wavered. Some of the machinery broke down. There were a few employees who would not even step foot in the rehearsal room if she was there. Experienced AGT players acknowledged that Riana was the only artist who ever really irritated them. Even if her fame grew as a result of her stage fright, it wasn't enough. Sacred Riana was knocked out in the quarterfinals on August 27, 2018. Her intake was inadequate votes. Acts such as Duo Transcend triumphed against her. There was utter shock among the cheerleaders. A lot of people thought it was bad for the show overall. Those close to Riana claimed that she was devastated and disappointed. People in the crowd didn't get her, she thought. She is prepared to perform her horrific magic. Moving from the global stage to the silver screen, the Sacred Riana made her grand entrance. On March 14, 2019, it wasn't like any other horror movie. In The Sacred, a contestant from America's Got Talent made history by starring in their own feature film. Christina Aguilera. The unsettling tale of her youth was revealed at the outset. In a little village, Riana's family had a funeral home. After the tragedy, they relocated to Jakarta. Riana discovered an unusual doll there and decided to call it Riani. The doll ended up being her sole close associate. She was so attached to it that she avoided social situations and eventually quit attending school. Unusual events began to transpire. Things became rather scary after her teacher paid a visit. People watched and wondered what happened next, what Riana was thinking at the time. The film's initial screening was in Indonesia. Its subsequent destinations were Singapore and Malaysia. Riana went from being a local star to a regional horror icon because to the movie, July 28, 2022 was the sacred day for Riana. Bloody Mary No 2 has come. The terror was more profound this time. The plot followed Riana as she searched a girl's haunted dormitory in a desperate quest to recover a doll she had misplaced. Among Central Java's haunted locations is the Vandavite Fortress, where the film was shot. Better, more sophisticated special effects were used. The sense of terror was amplified. Worst of all, Riana's own reaction to the role was terrifying. Both on and off set, she maintained her character the entire time. She was a source of concern for the cast and crew. They were concerned that the job was giving her permanent changes. It was a smashing hit. Her performance left a profound impression on the captivated audience. Riana embarked on an additional endeavor following these flicks. Starting in December, she served as a judge on the 2019 to 2020 season of The Great Magician Show. However, her eerie behavior remained unchanged. Just as when she was famous, she judged with a blank expression and slow, rigid gestures. She spoke barely a word and communicated mostly through gestures. The competitors were both honored and terrified. They were confused by her lack of speech. Many people really enjoyed it. The show's viewership increased. Everyone was watching to witness her next move. Not Riana, that's enough. On Spotify, she launched a podcast titled Kisah Horror, The Sacred Riana. Many people loved it. Her life and the myths that influenced her were filled with terrifying stories, which she recounted. She seemed to be whispering ghosts, according to her fans, telling tales to anybody who would listen. People continued to feel anxious even after the podcast ended. It was recognized as one of the best horror podcasts in Indonesia. Kuala Lumpur was the site of Riana's Conjuring live performance. In July 2023, there were more than 2,600 attendees in the plenary hall. She specifically requested that they bring mementos from their departed loved ones. In her illusions, she utilized these objects Tickets ranging in price from RM288 to RA688 were quickly sold out. She performed at Singapore's Star Theatre in December with the identical act. All of the seats were filled. The 12-part series explored the afterlife for viewers. There was more to it than just a show. It caused many to re-evaluate their views about the hereafter. But Riana was fighting for her life in the shadows of her stardom. By the year 2019, she had lost track of sacred Riana, and then Marie, her authentic self, started. Dissociative identity tension was the medical term. On a daily basis, she was sacred Riana. Her true name was no longer used by her. Using the third person, she discussed herself. Concern spread among her loved ones. She had become disconnected from her true identity. According to one physician, she had grown accustomed to wearing her stage mask. Her entire world came crashing down in August 2023. She lost her grandpa, out of the blue due to a stroke. He was the sole individual who continued to address her as Marie. When he thought of her, he saw a small girl who was enchanted. Her heart sank upon his passing. She abruptly ended her performance schedule for the year. Remaining alone in her flat, she did not leave. No one, not even her cherished doll, could console her anymore. Her speech came to a halt. Her desire to perform was strong. The breakup shattered the fragile barrier that had existed between the girl and sacred Riana. She completely broke down by October. She froze and hardly shifted. Someone on her squad managed to enlist her assistance. She enrolled in a rural, private health facility for herself. Viewers would not be aware of her whereabouts. Sitting quietly with her doll in her lap and gazing into the mirror, she was at the clinic. Looking for the innocent girl she used to be, she appeared disoriented. She never fully recovered. She was assisted in removing the outfit by the clinic and applied makeup after a long absence. Sadness and liberation coexisted. In treatment, she performed magic tricks to reawaken the happiness she had lost. After doing a basic card trick for another patient in December, she was overcome with emotion and grinned. By leaving the facility in January 2024, she felt more empowered, but she remained confused about her true identity. Already, the Holy Riana had become an international phenomenon. She made her grand entrance on Britain's Got Talent, The Champions, on August 31, 2019. Everyone was looking on. I felt that this was the same artist who frightened millions on American Idol in 2018 after winning Asia's Got Talent in 2017. More than 70 million people had seen her performances online. Everyone was hoping that the judges would be left dumbfounded once again by her uncanny spell. However, the events that occurred were startled everyone. In the first round, she was eliminated. She did not advance despite her notoriety and enormous fan base. There was utter shock among the cheerleaders. Criticism was perplexing. Audience members serving as judges didn't appear to care. Perhaps they had desired a fresh perspective. She began her precipitous fall from grace that night on the global talent show. Nobody could stop talking about her creepiest act on Got Talent. Yet at this point in time, the rapid decline of one's celebrity status was brought home by leaving. Attempts at a return by Riana were made in January 2023. All Stars, America's Got Talent was her return to the show. Only 6 artists were invited back out of thousands. That proved the magnitude of the effect her creations. In 2018, her initial audition was viewed by more than 84 million people. She was absolutely remarkable, according to Simon Cowell himself. However, the past mirrored the present. In the first round, she was eliminated. During her performance, Howie Mandel confessed he was genuinely scared. However, dread was insufficient. Seemingly, the assessors were looking something more than simply terrifying. What had appeared like new magic now seemed like old. It was obvious after her removal. Both the public and businesses had progressed. As she discovered once more, celebrity does not endure indefinitely. During the fall of 2022, Riana visited France. Her talent was so great that she competed in La France Season 17. Once again, she advanced to the semi-finals. Winning in a country with notoriously harsh judges was a huge deal. Particularly startled was one of the judges, Marianne James. Her exceptional performance was lauded by the French press. Even in France, her eerie illusions continued to captivate onlookers. Her presence was less frequent for them. The riddle persisted. It demonstrated a significant point. Things that seemed dated in one location could actually be rather novel in another. The Italian show she was on in September 2023 was showcased talent. For a younger audience, there was the Disney Plus adaptation. However, issues arose. Even the selection round was too much for her. Once a mesmerizing performance, her act now seems formulaic. Italian viewers, who came to know her from many on the internet, were unimpressed. This was an agonizing time. She was uninteresting in a nation that values drama and magic. The action that had previously enraged the judges felt mundane. The entertainment industry had progressed. Her return followed. Her Australian stage return was in February 2024. Perth was the site of her Alone, the sacred Riana concert, which ran from February 2nd to 18th. Her performance in Australia was her debut. Every single one of the 11 performances was complete sellouts. The tickets sold out in a matter of days. Both long-time and new fans crammed into the enchanted ballroom. People were leaving the room mid-show because they couldn't manage the overwhelming stress. It wasn't simply a return. It was a triumph. An epiphany had occurred. Her online persona regained its vigor. She gave fans a glimpse of the show's making of and featured footage. She demonstrated her continued command of the room throughout the Perth run. Like no one else, she could still frighten an audience. However, a shift had occurred. Scaring people was no longer her only goal with her presentation. It conveyed an intimate tale. Riana started to use her delusions as a way to deal with loss, sadness, and celebrity. A terrifying inquiry was posed by her. In cases where the spectre, "Are you afraid of oneself?" Fear and profound feeling were now entwined in her spell. She would even incorporate audience members' objects into her performances. This gave each performance a distinct flavor. Never before had she revealed such a vulnerable side of herself. Its unexpected turn of events stunned viewers. Furthermore, it rethought the very definition of a magic show. It was no longer just a job for Riana on stage. Doing so allowed her to stay alive. She mentioned in interviews that performing brought her a sense of humanity back. Shows in 2024 seemed authentic and unfiltered. She was vulnerable, even if everyone was terrified. For me, performing was like releasing pent-up emotions. Both she and the listeners were made to confront unpleasant realities by her actions. Both healing and fear found a safe haven in her. Live performances were more than just a show for her fans. It demonstrated the resilience of the human soul and the curative potential of art.